All right. Thank you so much for everybody for coming. We've got a really nice turnout, and some more people might trickle in throughout our time here. I'm Nick Wolferman, the Executive Director of the Progressive Democrats of New Jersey. I'm joined today by Hector Oseguera, also a member of PDNJ and the Good Government Coalition of New Jersey, and Laura Zerflu, who is also a member of Good Government Coalition. We're really excited to be partnering with the Good Government Coalition New Jersey today to talk about the county committee races and positions that are available pretty much throughout the state of New Jersey in multiple counties, north, central, and south. A really important position, a very local position, really good opportunity to organize locally within your community, sometimes just within a few blocks. And a great opportunity to get involved and start working on some of the structural things that we're hoping to solve in the state. Some ground rules for today: please stay on mute when not speaking or when not called upon to ask a question. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, names, pronouns, and where you're from. You can use the chat to ask questions. We'll be monitoring the chat to make sure we can answer them promptly or save them for the end. And then also a follow-up email will be sent with all the important materials and information coming from this session. A little bit about PDNJ before I hand over the reins. The Progressive Democrats in New Jersey, we're a grassroots organization dedicated to electing progressive candidates to office and advocating for political and policy change that create a more equitable New Jersey for everyone, especially the poor and working class, which is why we're organizing here today, why we're bringing partners in with the Good Government Coalition, inviting all of you folks to learn about a really important position in local government and local organizing that I think we can do a lot of good with. As I said, we're a nonprofit social welfare organization. Our focus is on education, policy education, professional political training, as well as organizing. We unite around a progressive leftist agenda. You can learn more about that on our website, but mostly we're focusing on putting people first and advocating for social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. We're a very diverse bunch, a very diverse coalition of hard workers and a lot of volunteers putting in a lot of hours. And we're really excited about where that's gotten us and how it's gotten us here today. With that, I'm going to hand over the reins to Hector and Laura to give you some information about the county committee system.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for that, Nick. My name is Hector Oseguera. I'm here with Laura. We're both members of the Good Government Coalition of New Jersey. And today we're going to talk about a little bit about county committee. I'm going to go through what county committee is and what it does. And then Laura will take you through what it's like to run for county committee and what exactly you need to do to have a successful campaign. Can we jump to the next slide? So I'll start just telling you first a little bit about myself before we jump into the whole thing. My name is Hector Oseguera. I ran for Congress in 2020 in the 8th Congressional District, represented by Albio Ciarez. At the time, is now retiring, and there's a primary. Through that, I learned what it's like to go up against the political establishment, which is quite the task. I think that anybody who takes upon that mission is doing something really amazing, and I really want to commend every single one of you for being here today and for being interested in doing this. So, all right, let's jump right in and talk about what county committee really is, right? Basically, in the Republican and Democratic parties, which are private parties, you have these things called county committees. And what it is the most hyper local version of elected positions. In theory, what you're really supposed to be is a boots on the ground. When Get Out the Vote comes around and you need people to vote for you, what you're really trying to do is have somebody who's going to serve as a local leader to corral people and to bring them out to vote. Now, also, the idea behind this is that you have somebody close to you that you can bring your local concerns to. That person's supposed to have ties to the higher ups within the political establishment who can do something. You know, if there's a pothole, if there's a street sign that's broken, you have somebody in your neighborhood who you have a relationship with, who's from the community, who you can bring these issues to, and who will address your problems. Next slide. What we have also is, the next slide is called county versus municipal, but I think it should be called a county and municipal, because if you were to get on county committee, there's always a corresponding local municipal committee, which you're then a member of. Usually the municipal is run by either the mayor or somebody very close to the mayor. And that serves as a more local version, but the real power rests in the county committee. Next slide. And that's what it is. County committee has enormous power, and we're going to talk about what that power looks like. But essentially, county committee is the grassroots from, hypothetically, right? We're obviously going to get into how this really manifests in reality, but hypothetically, the way that county committee is supposed to work is that for relatively little time, you have somebody who really can be an agent for change in the community, as somebody who is supposed to serve as a go-between between the local people, the people who have concerns and have issues that they want to talk about, and the elected officials who are supposed to get something done about that. So moving on, what do we do as county committee, and what does this power mean? You know, when elections come around, you get to essentially choose who's going to be the representative of your party. Essentially, when things come around, we'll obviously eventually talk about the county line, but the people who make up county committee in many different counties, they determine who gets the county line. You know, for those of you who don't know the county line, it's a ballot placement mechanism that really almost guarantees who the winner of a given election will be. County committee members are, in many instances, the ones who choose who gets the county line. Moving on. You also decide who gets money, right? And unfortunately, when you're talking about politics, we know that the person who often raises the most money is the person who has the best chances of succeeding. County committee, by giving away endorsements or by choosing who gets endorsed, also chooses who is going to get the party's funding, which obviously puts one candidate at an advantage over another. Moving on. You know, and then finally is that you get to really pick the leadership of the party. Again, this manifests in different ways, but the way it's supposed to work is that the members of the county committee choose a representative who will be the county executive, and they're supposed to wield a lot of political power. So it's not a position that requires, honestly, a lot of work. These are hyper local elections, usually your neighboring blocks and the people around you. Many people win county committee races with single digit numbers of votes. You can win with 10 or less votes, depending on a given year. But it is a position that has significant power behind it. Go ahead to the final slide. There's a bonus, is that sometimes there are vacancies that get filled, and the county committee members obviously have a large say in determining who gets on the short list and who gets talked about as a serious contender to fill vacancies. Last slide for me. You know, honestly, the original role, we should take it back to what this is meant to be. You're supposed to be like a local lieutenant, somebody who can corral voters, is listening to voters, who can oversee what's going on in your community, and has a real tie, not just to the community, but to the elected officials who people hope will be able to do something about their concerns. And so that's sort of the summary about what county committee is and what it does. Before we move on to how you get on county committee and what it's like to run, I'd like to pause now and ask if there are any questions. Seeing, going once. All right, seeing none.
Well, Hector, there is one question
Oh.
in chat.
Okay.
I already addressed it, but I'll read it to you since you probably can't see it. Nancy asked, I'm already a committee member, but was hoping that this training would help us to find out how to get the county to be more responsive to those on the local level and help us to grow our local group membership. Will this be addressed, or is it mainly a training for new potential committee members? And I answered her that for my part, it's mainly a training for new committee members, but I don't know what else is planned.
No, yeah. I think that this really is an information session to really get down what county committee is and how to run for it. You know, if Nancy, if you're looking for getting grassroots support to get the county to be more responsive, I think that's more part of PDNJ's core mission and the stuff that we're doing on a pretty regular basis. Depending on what I'm not sure what county you're in, Nancy, but I would definitely say that you should probably touch base with Nick after this, and we can probably help, because that's sort of the main bread and butter of what PDNJ is doing, is working on local issues. But this really was a training session and an information session to get people to know what county committee is, what it does, and how to get you on county committee. So I think that's really the bulk of what the training, today's training was meant to address.
But I'll say kudos to Nancy for being on committee already.
Yeah, so you're a couple steps ahead of us already. So thank you, Nancy. All right, I guess going on, I'll turn it over to Laura and to talk about how it is that you will get yourself on county committee. Take it away.
Oh, okay, I need to share my screen now. And I'll find my PowerPoint. Okay. Just who I am. I'm actually a veterinarian, not a politician, and I'm not an expert on county committee. I just worked hard to figure out what to me was a somewhat confusing and non-transparent process. And you know, some of the stuff Hector said, it is a governing structure internal to a specific party. So there are actually two county committees in each town, a Republican one and a Democratic one, and that's by statute. So there is none for the other parties. Being elected to county committee, as Hector mentioned, means you're elected to both your municipal county committee, or your municipal Democratic or Republican committee, and your county Democratic or Republican committee, and your role on each one differs. When you're in the county Democratic committee, your role is going to involve casting a vote, endorsing primary candidates. So deciding who gets the line, as Hector noted, the county line, which at GGCNJ, we work a lot to educate people about the power of the line and how undemocratic it is. But that's the process we have right now. And that usually occurs at a convention, depending on which county you're in. I'm in Middlesex County, and we're lucky enough to have a full convention, and everyone on committee is invited. There are some counties that have a convention where only the municipal chairs are invited. There are some counties which don't have a convention at all. And just basically the chairman of the entire county committee decides who's going to be on the line, and there's really no even false democratic process going on. So if your county committee process does not seem democratic, you can request a change in the bylaws, and that's one reason we're encouraging people to run for county committee, because if we get a plurality of people to vote for that, it can get done. So and a lot of things can get done. Municipal committee, this is where the bulk of your work is going to take place. This is the committee that is in your town that will recruit, encourage, educate, and promote Democratic candidates for your township government. And this is also a powerful position because you can recruit and support progressive Democrats as opposed to, more traditional Democrats that sometimes are seem to get in year after year after year. Title 19 is the statute that actually governs county committee. And the bylaws of the Democratic Party do accept Title 19. Sorry, my cat is rustling my papers. And so there's a few, there's a bunch of things, if you look at Title 19, that it says, gives some very specific things, like the annual meeting of each municipal committee shall be held on the first Monday following the primary. And the members of each committee shall elect a chairperson who shall be a resident of such municipality. Interestingly, the chairman doesn't need to be part of the elected members. And our chairman in our town is not part of the elected members. I mean, that's another thing to note. If you have someone who's in your municipality that's not been elected for whatever reason, maybe they ran against someone who's more established and didn't get in, you can still elect them chair if you have enough people on committee to do that. And then the other thing that's powerful about our position in municipality is that if a member of the municipal committee or town council or town committee steps down, we are the people that will appoint the next person in line for that office. If it's a Democrat that steps down, if it's a Republican that steps down, the Republican committee appoints the next candidate. Each county has its own bylaws for county committee. They're usually pretty similar, but they do differ. And you should be able to find those bylaws easily by Googling whatever county you live in and county committee bylaws. And there is a statute that requires the bylaws of the county committee to be posted on its website if they have a website. Although I will say I spoke at Hudson County and someone from the Hudson County Democrats was there. They didn't have them posted and they said, well, they didn't think it was that important, but there is a statute. So how to run for county committee. You must be 18 years old, a registered member of your party, and a resident in the district that you're running to represent. Each township is divided into, as you guys know, when you go to vote, a bunch of different districts. So I'm in District 1 in Cranberry. I have to run in District 1. Your responsibilities will include attending local, county, and state meetings and voting at those meetings. You will be in charge, and not in charge of all of these things, but these are some of the things you may be working on: organizing voter registration drives, circulating candidate petitions, which are actually happening right now. That's the petition that allows people to get on the primary ballot, and it requires a certain number of signatures. Flyer events, spreading information, recruiting volunteers, recruiting poll watchers and election workers. You may be interacting with government agencies, interacting with your neighbors. You certainly should be following up on getting out the vote before election and supporting your local candidate that you did recruit, and hopefully working hard on their election. So those are the kinds of things that you'll be responsible for. And when I say responsible, nobody really holds you to those responsibilities. It's really a matter of how much time and how much motivation you have. Some people literally never show up to anything. Some people show up once or twice a year. Certainly, I would hope that if you are motivated enough to run, you would be someone who would take the responsibility seriously. And the first step is to find out if the seats in your county are up for election this year or next year. And I put in parentheses, this is a 2-year term. That's actually changed, at least in Middlesex County and perhaps in other counties. We decided to make it a 4-year term. I was very against that because we decided it halfway through our term, which seemed to me to be following Putin's footsteps of saying, yeah, you elected me for 2 years, but by the way, now it's 4 years and you can't say anything about it. But that's what we did in Middlesex County last year. Only 5 counties do it in odd years: Camden, Middlesex, Sussex, Union, and Warren, and the rest do it in the even years. You can find out this information from your town clerk or your municipal committee chairman. Talk to your town clerk to find out if the seat you're eligible for in your district is filled. Many times some of these seats are unfilled, in which case it's very easy. You can get appointed by approaching the committee chair and telling them that you're interested in filling that seat. If the seat is filled and you want to run against the the person, and this is the year that your county is up, ask the clerk for something called a nominating petition, and that will have to be signed by a certain number of registered voters in your party. The date for that deadline is April 4th, so it's coming up very, very quickly. But I will tell you that the number of people that need to sign that nominating petition for you is probably going to be 5 or less, certainly going to be 10 or less. It's 5% of the number of voters that voted in the last primary election. So it's a very small number. So it's really not difficult to get those signatures. Those people have to be registered voters. They have to be registered Democrats. Theoretically, they can also be registered unaffiliated voters that will promise to vote in the primary and become Democrats on that day. I just try to get registered Democrats because I don't trust people to definitely vote in the primary. And they will, those signatures will be checked to make sure that that person is eligible to sign. So you want to get some extra signatures just in case. The petition will need to be notarized before you submit it to the town clerk on 4 p.m. This year on April 4th at 4 p.m. or before 4 p.m. So as I mentioned, if the seat's vacant, you can approach the current committee person, the current municipal chair, and ask if they would fill it. If it's filled, the other thing you can do is you can approach the current committee person that you would be replacing. We're talking right now about an upcoming election, so it's a little late to do that, but you may, even if you're going to be running against someone, you may want to approach them and say, hey, I'm thinking of running against you, just to be polite. They may say, hey, in that case, I don't even think I want to run. So some people are doing it, basically someone asked them to do it. They really don't know what they're supposed to be doing with this role, and they're more than happy to step down. So for the counties that are not having an election this year, make yourself a good candidate for the next election. Start by volunteering on subcommittees, committees, boards, for events. Certainly with local campaigns to get your name known in the Democratic Party, and so that they know that you'll work for them. It's a great way to network. If you want a challenge, and this is how I got in, was I challenged the sitting person in my district. You'll need to run a campaign, and if you guys have canvassed before, you know how to do this. But you can get a walking list of the registered voters in your district, and that will tell you, who's Democrat, who's Republican. There's no point in approaching Republicans; they can't vote in our primary. So I'm a Democrat, and I'm assuming all of you are. And so you would basically just canvass the Democrats, and you can request them to be sorted by who voted in the last primary election. Those are the people that are much more likely to vote in this primary election. And you are, I should have mentioned, you are only going to be running in the primary. There is no general election for this position because we are a partisan position. So only Democrats can vote for us, and we will be elected in the Democratic primary. And then we're going to run a campaign just like any other campaign. You can do this, every Sunday for a couple of hours. And meet with, honestly, pretty easily every constituent in your district. It's a small, as you know, that it's subdivided into smaller districts, and you're only going to the Democrats. So it's very reasonable that you can actually touch on each person, each constituent in your district. Explain what the county committee position does, because people don't know that. Listen to what they're concerned about. And you may want to leave some information about yourself. Honestly, the flyer I made was just, I made it in my own printer. It was not anything that was very fancy, explaining why I was interested in the position and what I would do with it. And I'll just note that with vote by mail, all campaigns have changed, not just campaigning for county committee. In that voters now receive their ballots 6 weeks before the general election. And that's also true for the primary. You're going to vote by mail, voters will receive their ballots 6 weeks before the primary election. And you want to make sure, ideally, that you've canvassed these voters prior to them receiving their ballots. There's a if you look at the way those ballots are sent in, there's a bunch of people that get them that week. The very first week they get them, they send them in, and you want to make sure you've touched those people before they send their ballots in. The nice thing about being a vote by mail ballot is you're going to have your ballot pretty early. And if you're running off the line in particular, it can be hard to find your name on the ballot. So it's nice to kind of circle your name and show it to people so that they know where you are. Even if they're voting in the general election, or sorry, not the general, even if they're voting by machine, they will, your position on the ballot will be the same as your position on the vote by mail ballot. And then, so then again, a week before the primary, you do want to get out the vote. Remind people who have said they're going to vote for you to make sure that they've voted. You can also get an updated list of the vote by mail voters who have and have not sent in their ballots, and call the people that will vote for you, and remind them to send that in. And you can ask some of your better supporters to call their friends and also remind them to vote. So the rights, when you are elected, rights as committee person include that you do have the right to view the municipal party financial records. You do have the right to access a copy of the party bylaws within 48 hours of being elected. I will say that when I was elected, that's when we found out we didn't have bylaws, because I asked to see them and everybody was like, oh, maybe we should write some. So we have written some since. We do, again, have the right to propose and vote on party bylaws and constitution. And we also have the right to propose and review candidates who will run on our party's ticket, and the right to vote for candidates to fill vacancies, as we mentioned. I think that's it. I'll mention one thing that Hector said. I just wanted to mention, he said sometimes that the mayor will be the municipal chair of the committee, the Democratic committee or Republican committee. And I'll say that we decided in our town that we were going to, in our bylaws, make that not able to happen, because it's incredibly corrupt. And that's actually who was municipal. When I was first elected, I ran against the mayor's wife, who was also the municipal chair. And if you think about it, the mayor is going to run again, and he's also in charge of saying who gets the line and who gets the endorsement. Is he ever going to give that up to someone else? Like, that's just not going to happen. So it's quite a corrupt thing, but it is true that a lot of the time that people on the Democratic committee or also on township committee, we decided not to allow that to happen in our town. And just FYI about my race, another thing about running off the line, you've probably heard how powerful the line is, and perhaps if you haven't, I would encourage you to attend a session about the line. But the line is extremely powerful in the larger races. In a smaller race like this, it is actually possible to overcome it, and I actually overcame it twice, because when I first was elected, I ran off the line, and then they liked me so much that they put me off the line, even though I was an incumbent, and I got elected again. The reason it's easier when you're running in a smaller position is because, like I said, you can literally tap on everyone's door that's going to be a voter. And when you're running for, as Hector did for Congress, you can't really connect with every single voter and encourage them, tell them why you're better. And so it does make it does make it much more achievable to run off the line in a smaller position. And actually, the second time I ran, just to encourage you, the second time I ran with another county committee person who was off the line in my district, as well as we had a township committee member that we recruited, township committee candidate that we recruited, and we ran as kind of like a little mini line, and we actually all won, and we're all in the offices now. So it is doable. And I would encourage you to, to consider running off the line, even if there is a filled position and it's not someone who wants to step aside for you. So, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I don't know if people want to put them in chat or just raise their hands, or however, for me or Hector.
I see one question in the chat. It's thoughts on asking people registered as independent switching to registered Democrat. Is it worth the time and effort? So I'll take that, and then I'll let Laura answer. To me, I guess when you're talking about county committee, it's worthwhile. It certainly is, because essentially you're talking about such a small universe of people that I do think it's worth the effort, especially because of the fact that county committee races are determined by such small numbers, or can be. I think it is worth the time and effort trying to get people who are registered independents to switch to Democrat if they're willing, especially if it's somebody and they are willing to switch just to vote for you. Essentially, I do think that is worth the effort. What do you think, Laura?
I think if it's someone you know for sure, 100%. I have to say, if you have all the time in the world and you want to canvass more people, I don't think I would canvass people I don't know that are unaffiliated, just because so many people who are unaffiliated truly are affiliated. They're going to vote Democrat or Republican, and you don't really know which one. You might be canvassing, a Trump voter. So you may be, it just might be a waste of time. So if you have all the time in the world, you can do it. I definitely would do it with my friends, and I have actually approached people who are unaffiliated and asked them to vote for me, in the past. That's just my thought. You got
And-
nothing to lose, though.
Right.
And they can declare right at the polls. They don't have
They
to make a special
The
trip.
day they go to the primary to vote is they become a Democrat if they vote in the Democratic primary. Yeah. People can also switch from Republican to Democrat, but you have to do that 6 weeks in advance. So if you have like a friend who's a Republican, they have to really think that out. It's not as easy if you're Republican. You have to change party and then change back again. I always tell people you can just change back again, even if you're unaffiliated. I mean, it's very easy. They just send in a form the next day. So.
And John, I see your comment about the male-female designations being no longer valid. So for those who may not be familiar, county committee had this rule that that there are 2 members to each district. One was designated to be a male and one was designated to be a female. And this was challenged in court and was found to be invalid. And actually this last year in Hudson County, we elected a 2-woman team in Jersey City. So not only is it not valid, if you have 2 women who you think are great candidates in your district, I encourage you to run both of them and don't feel, we're trying to change things. So don't feel too constrained by rules as they've been, right? The reason that we're all here is because the way that things have been are not necessarily working out for us. So feel free to think outside the box to a certain extent.
That's the same for the municipal chair and vice chair too. They both have the opposite sex, but now they don't have to be.
Yeah, that's correct.
Gender, not sex.
Yeah, gender, correct. Yeah, that's true. I think it was because in the old days, it was like, a lot of times it was a husband and wife pair. And actually in my town, we only have 6 committee members. It was 3 husbands and wives. And I think it was supposed to be like, because your boots on the ground, like the men hang out with their friends and they're the, liaison to their friends, and the women hang out with their friends. I think that's how it was designed to be. But nowadays, I think it was changed more because more women wanted to run than anything else. I mean, in my town, we're having a much easier time getting women to run than men. So,
A good thing.
yes.
That's the question I was going to ask, but I think I already know the answer. But I'm going to ask just to see what you guys say. I'm the municipal chair in my town. We have a little discussion amongst the hierarchies. And so some of the names that I submitted or will be submitting to be on the ballot with the petitions and all, they're at least 2, and after our last meeting, it could be more, that they are going to not give us the line. So then they'll still just run, just not on the line. But my question more is, as municipal chair, I don't really have any say on saying that, right? It's still the chairman, because he can do whatever he wants.
You mean your county
The
chair?
county chairman, right?
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to them. So as your Democratic committee is going to recommend a certain candidate and they're going to say no? Is that what you're afraid is going to
Right.
happen?
They're going to give it to somebody
Yeah.
else that is not our person. They asked for all the names, which they never did that before, but they asked for quite in advance, because I think they wanted to screen who was leaning which way on an issue.
Oh, really?
And then they said, I gave them, and I was bugging them for the pink slips, and they're like, well, we'll give you the pink slips, which we still haven't gotten. And they, that one particular district, they told us, no, we're not taking your people. We have some other people.
Wow. And then they're going to expect your Democratic committee to support their people too, I guess.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I was, I guess, stuck in a similar position Well, they didn't give me the line, which made it easier because I was like, look, I can't support the person that's not running, that's running against me, even I'm on
Right.
Democratic committee, but also there was a terrible, terrible person that was running. He was the one that was the mayor. And I recruited someone to run against him and I was just like, I don't know, sorry. I mean, I can't support this guy. He's terrible, even though you put him on the line. And he lost. So it's all good. And we got an environmentalist on instead of this guy who made this, I could read you the speech, the most sexist speech I've ever heard in public about how women never run for committee because we're lazy. And that if we always say we have kids and we have other things to do, and if our husbands don't take care of the kids for us so we can be on committee, then we should sleep in separate bedrooms from our husband. We should punish them by not giving them sex. That was at a township committee meeting that he made this long speech. And I was like, I can't support this. That's insane.
What millennia is he from?
A very different one, very different. So he's gone now. He's off. He was municipal chair and mayor when I started. And now he's completely out of the party. So
Good.
yeah. Does anybody else have anything? I'll say that, I guess, one thing I've been presenting to our revolution, and they were kind of the other day, people were saying, well, I'm really busy and I don't know if I can do the municipal stuff. I just like to do the county stuff. And I'm like, I kind of feel like, hey, if you're on there, you should be supporting Democrats. Like, that's what, I mean, I know we're not always in line, well, frequently not in line with what the upper echelon, county chairs are doing and things like that, but we should be trying to get at least our own Democrats on and supporting candidates. I mean, that's where the power is, getting our people in positions of power, So.
Precisely. Thank you so much, Laura and Hector. I think they highlighted a lot of important points. Not just what the logistics of what the position holds, and that's significant with filling in vacant positions as well as the line, but also with the influence and being able to be a real community organizer and be boots on the grounds for other campaigns, and being able to really speak to the needs of your constituency at a really local level. There was a lot of information on there. So like I said, we will be emailing out a follow-up with some of this information. In addition, Laura had mentioned it, the deadline for filing your petitions is very closely approaching. So please, if you're interested in running and have not run before and you need some additional help, please feel free to reach out to us at administrator@pdofnj.com. We'll have that information at the end of the slides also. In addition, if you're looking at your local race and you see that it's going to be a campaign and you've not had campaign experience before, or like to spruce up your campaign knowledge and would like some additional support, PDNJ will be running a county committee training program, starting with this and continuing on April 10th, focusing on field organizing, which is the best way to get out there and just talk to your neighbors, and helping you build out some campaign communication materials. And then moving into a second training session, as well as bi-weekly candidate check-ins after that to support you all the way through to election day. I will, how do I copy and paste that? I'll copy and paste the link and drop it in the chat in a minute. Laura had highlighted April 4th, the candidate petition filing deadline. Really will probably need 5 to 10 in most cases. I can't really think of one right now that was more than 10 that I can recall. I can think of a couple that were 10. So not the most difficult to get, but the important thing that I want to highlight, because it's sometimes missed, is that it does have to be notarized. The petition does have to be notarized before handing it in. PDNJ is working on a way to help coordinate through some of those logistical issues to find a notary and make sure that that's possible. But April 4th, candidate petition filing deadline. If you need help, need assistance getting the petition with the notary, again, please feel free to reach out.
I'm sorry, that link you sent us is only for members. You can't go unless you're a member.
Oh, it is?
the link that you put in the chat. It says you need permission.
Yes, yeah, same. It says you need permission to access.
Okay.
Oh, really? All right, well, I
Yeah.
will,
Yeah,
I'll edit that right now and it'll be fixed.
thank you, Laura.
thank you so much. Amazing, a mistake. But if you are interested in becoming a member, please feel free to do so, pdnj.link/join. You can also join on our website. If you have financial hardship or unable to pay membership dues, just feel free to email us and we'll send over a financial hardship waiver to get that taken care of for you. And as I said, please feel free to email us. If you have any other questions, follow-up questions, we're going to be emailing out a lot of this material again to you at the end, later on today. And
I have another question that I kind of understand it, but I think you might, others might not. You might want to describe the getting the line and the pink slip process. Or is that just Pat? Is that just Ocean County or is that everybody?
I believe
You know what I'm talking about? You guys
I
can give
think
a
that-
look.
I think that's everybody.
Do you know what I'm referring to, Hector and Nick? That the pink slips?
Not the pink slips.
The pinks, well, in Ocean County at least, I thought this was everywhere, where we have to get on the county line, we have to have the chairman sign off on it and he gives us this pink slip when we give our nominations in. If we don't get that, we won't be on the county line. We have to put our slogan on there, which is, they changed the slogan this year. That's another long story. But I thought that was statewide, but you guys never heard of this?
Well,
In
I've
Hudson-
nev-
Go
sorry.
ahead, Laura, sorry.
I was just gonna say, isn't that something the municipal chair would deal with? Because I don't, yeah, I mean, I don't deal with that.
No, it comes from the county chair.
No, but I mean, wouldn't that go to our municipal chair to deal with? Like to respond about who's gonna be on the line?
I think they're the ones who send in the names and then.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I said. That's what I said in my earlier comments. I gave them the list of names and then on the municipal chair. And we can't get on the county line unless we have that pink slip that the chairman has to sign. So the
yeah,
chairman
haven't
picking some
dealt
of his
with
own
that.
people because he doesn't like our people.
right. I haven't dealt with that because I'm not a municipal chair, right? I'm the vice chair, so.
Mhm.
So
And
I
then
haven't seen the
Still
process.
anybody that, but again, whether this is exclusive to Ocean County, maybe I'm wrong, that, I mean, you will not be online. You can put your notarized ballot in with the municipal clerk and all that. And if you don't have that pink slip of paper signed by the chairman, you won't get on the line.
I'm not sure that we have that in Hudson, mostly because the chair just picks without any sort of input. And for those who have run and got the line, it's just on a verbal like statement of you'll get the line. So I've never dealt with the pink slips or anything like that.
I think it is different. I think it is different county to county.
Yeah,
In
I've
Ocean
submitted.
County- In
Sorry.
Ocean County, that the township will not accept a petition unless you have a pink slip to go with it.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, no, that's definitely different because I just
Definitely.
submit the petition and then they tell me whether I got to be on the line or not. The MCDO decides and they let me know. So
Mm.
there's no pink slip.
Same here.
I wonder where this law came from then. I'll have to
Yeah.
research that a little better.
Sounds-
Why
it
it's
sounds
rules.
very- It sounds very Ocean County though.
Oh,
used
there's a
to- I
lot
used
going
to-
on in Ocean County.
I used to live there.
Where did you
By the
live?
way, I wanted to thank the gentleman from Ocean County because whenever I'm a newbie, and when I was trying to find out, well, what does a county committee person do? I noticed you had a great little manual on your Ocean County Democratic website. So that was very helpful to me. Thanks for that.
I didn't put it up
And-
there, but that was,
Okay.
that
think we
that
need
comes from
one.
the county itself. I'm still from the municipality.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. We need one like that for Monmouth County, I think, too. I had a question about, Laura Janone and I were planning on having a porch party as I guess to introduce ourselves to people in our district. And I wondered if you folks have done that in the past and have you found it helpful to pass out, any kind of brochure or any specific material at porch parties, or just if anybody has any comments about that?
Yeah,
think it's a great
I love
idea.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful idea. Meet and greets when I was running for Congress were one of our most successful events. I think it's a great place to get a lot of people together and to hand out your literature. I think it's a great idea. Laura?
Yeah, no, I agree. I haven't done it. But we've certainly done meet and greets for our township committee candidates. But yeah, I think it's a great idea if you can get people to attend. Yeah.
Oh, great, thanks. The other question I have as a newbie is when you're talking about the line, being on the line, it would be great to have a picture of exactly what that means. Like, I
oh
take
man,
it
the-
That's a
It's the-
whole separate
Wow.
thing. We have plenty of pictures.
give me a second, because now you've not having said that, now you've triggered me. So I actually have a bookmarked tweet of the ballot from my year, which I keep on hand for the specific reason that we were able to very interestingly, I guess I'm gonna dig it up, but I ask you to compare the slogans on my column and the ones that you'll see on column C. So I ran in 2020 for Congress. That's the ballot right there. It's a Jersey City ballot, is what you're looking at. And obviously I ran as a Democrat. And so I would invite you, which you see at the top left corner of the candidate's
Can't
name.
see anything yet. Did you share it?
It's in the chat. I just put
Oh,
it
it's in the chat. Okay,
Sorry
sorry.
about that.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. I put the link to the
Okay.
ballot, to the
Thank you.
ballot in the chat.
I can share it if you'd like.
Awesome. And I invite anybody to take a good look at the slogan
Mhm.
on column C,
Mm.
and then compare that to the slogan on column A. And you will see how in Hudson County, they went to great lengths to deny us the ability to form a line in this race, specifically because we were even able to take it to a draw, and we're able to draw column A, interestingly, which I'm not sure is something that many challengers are able to do. So if it's too small, on column C, you see Bernie Sanders, and his slogan is Bernie 2020, not me, us. And all of us on column A have the slogan, not me, us. And so, for some reason, there was something added to the slogan on column C, such that we were not able to have Bernie Sanders on our line, thereby completing a column.
Hmm.
And so who was on the line? Sorry, I
Well,
missed that.
Well, you can. I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, given the line is
Oh,
always
the line is the Joe Biden
Joe
column.
Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden, Cory
Okay.
Booker.
Tim,
Gotcha.
I don't think you've heard back from our county chair, but we all have, and he's putting everyone who has the right paperwork in on the line. He's going to be a very, he already got back to me on that.
Yeah, I did hear back from him,
Okay,
and
great.
he said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, if you want a good example of the line and the power that I think the county chairs understand it wields, I keep this ballot specifically on hand, and it's even more starkly if you look at column D. There's a candidate who was put, as the Good Government Coalition puts it, in ballot Siberia. On column D, you have an individual named Will Sheehan who ran for Congress, and unfortunately that individual got a very, very, very low amount of votes. You can probably attribute almost entirely to his position on the ballot. If you would have switched his name and my name on the ballot, he certainly would have done much, much better. And obviously all the candidates in column B won. So having the county line matters, obviously, and especially the higher you go. When you're talking about county committee, I think Laura's correct that you stand a very, very good chance of beating whoever's on the line, because we've done it and we've seen it happen a good deal. Once you get higher up than that, it does become a little bit of a harder push.
Hector, just to clarify, you wanted to be on the same line as Bernie Sanders.
Indeed, we wanted Bernie Sanders on our line because it would have created a complete column.
A complete line, yeah.
Yeah, and that perception, and I heard it up to election day is like, why don't you have a presidential candidate above you? Some people who are new, in Hudson County, we get a lot of transient people who used to live in New York City, and so they'll ask questions like, can I vote in different columns? If I vote for Joe Biden, am I allowed to vote for you as well? And so we had to create a lot of informational material for voters who were voting for the first time and didn't even know that they could vote for Joe Biden and then for me, or for Cory Booker and then for me, and stuff like that. So the line, it really does matter.
Does matter, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was very helpful. Thank you.
It's the line definitely has significant influence, and it's even just another reason why running for county committee and participating in these local offices is so important, because the county committee does theoretically in some counties and actually in some other counties have influence over, especially once county committee members are able to group together and kind of have their voices heard. But if you are interested in learning more about the line, there are usually information sessions happening every month. I know we host them sometimes as well, and we'll let you know when we do. Maybe it's something we should circle back to as primary season approaches. With that though, unless there are any other questions.
Yeah, I'll just say I'd be happy to talk to anyone if they have personal, want to reach out personally or anything, just let me know.
Same. If anybody's on social media, this is my Twitter handle where I'm very responsive. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me or anything. Any questions, I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we'll be following up with a follow-up email with information and ability to reach back out to us to answer any questions you have. I'm going to stop recording now. Oops.